2025.
How long is the recovery going to be?
We're being told that we can expect him to be ready for February.
For February?
2025, yeah. So.
Joe Cordina is out of the way then. Is he going to go straight to William Zepeda next?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we want to look for opportunities for Joe, and we'd still like to make that fight. But at the same time, the WBC, of course, ordered that fight with Zepeda. Zepeda fights in November, so it's quite likely that he'll go straight into that fight.
Was it a sparring injury? Or?
I believe so, yeah.
What are you going to do with Joe on the December 12th?
We're talking now, obviously it's quite fresh, so speaking to Spencer Brown of Gold Star and Turkey Al Sheikh as well. Obviously, we want to try and land a big fight for Joe Cordina as well, but it's all quite fresh and we'll have to see.
Does it change the status of the pay-per-view here in America?
Again, too early to decide.
Eddie, I talked to you earlier about Puerto Rico, right? His tentative date, December 7th, Puerto Rico, maybe a fight over there. But also, at the same time, people asking, what happened with Subiel Matias? What's next for him? Do you plan to have him in that show? Or
possibly, yeah. I mean, he needs to come back, get that win. Obviously, it's very disappointing that he lost in the homecoming, but obviously a great win from Liam Paro. But Subriel needs to come back with a win now. He's still an excellent fighter, dangerous fighter, and hopefully he can get that win this year.
On a personal note, Eddie, how disappointed are you with the news of Shakur? Obviously, you lobbied hard to get him to agree a deal with you guys at Matchroom, and the first fight gets delayed, the chance to work together.
Not really. I'm more disappointed for him. Fighters get injured all the time, but unfortunately, this was an operation that he had to have. Disappointed, for Shakur and for Riyadh season and for Joe. It was a fight that everybody was looking forward to in terms of the fighters, and Joe was fired up for it, and so was Shakur looking forward to that fight, and then moving into Zepeda. So disappointing, but it's unfortunate injury, and now he's had the operation, just got to rest and recover.
Just looking at the reaction online, some of the comments mentioning kind of Shakur's hands and the issues he's had in the past. Is that a concern for you moving forward?
I think Shakur's a 3-division world champion. He's 27 years old, so a small bump in the road.
There is heavyweight championship of the world next week. What statement does Anthony Joshua look to make going into this fight?
Just to win by any means necessary. I think it's a very dangerous fight. Dubois is a very good fighter. I think he's in tremendous form as well. But AJ is looking sensational, and I believe he'll win and become a 3-time world heavyweight champion.
Andy Cruz came out in Los Angeles, great fight, put a stoppage out there. What's next for him? When we're going to see him again?
We're going to see him hopefully before the end of the year, and ready now for the top 10 guys. I think he's had a very fast rise in terms of his professional experience. Looks great with Bozienis, but now start to try and focus in on the world title.
Can we see him in that Monaco event?
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
Possibly in that Monaco event, and then after that, the top 10?
Yeah, he's ready for the top 10 now.
Eddie, obviously the Shakur thing's very fresh. So who knows what's going to happen in the future. But you did mention WBC ordered Zepeda to fight him. That more than likely is probably going to have to be next. That also means that, you have a 2-fight deal with Shakur. You were just talking to Leonard yesterday about Tank. Does that mean maybe, puts it a little closer to you working with Shakur for the Tank fight?
I think we, at the moment, obviously he's sitting in hospital and he's just been operated on. So, but we're looking at the future, and the future is just to get him back to full health and ready to fight, and target that return February or March in 2025, whenever it's going to be. But the plan for me was after those 2 fights to fight Gervonta Davis, and that still remains the same, really, whether that's 1 fight or 2 fights. I look at Gervonta Davis, who I think is one of the best and most exciting fighters in the world, and I don't really know who the dance partners are moving forward. Even this November fight, I think it's going to be fascinating to say who is it actually going to be. If it's not Rayo, which Robert Garcia is saying it's not, I don't know who it is. And I don't think Gervonta Davis wants to move up to 140 and beyond to fight those guys, because I think it's a big physical disadvantage for him. So when you look at the mega fights for Gervonta Davis, especially with Ryan, probably not making 140 anymore or whatever, it's Shakur Stevenson. That's the big fight. But obviously now the focus is on just resting and recovering and getting ready for early next year.
Leonard Ellerby.
Yeah, for Mexican media, what do you think? You're a close man to Canelo. You know him very well. You have worked with him. What do you think does Berlanga have to be the third man that has beaten Canelo? only Mayweather and only people have achieved this.
I think you have to take chances. You have to be very active in the fight, which is quite dangerous as well. But you have to come to win. Canelo's a very good counterpuncher. He's very clever as well, so you can't make silly mistakes. But you've got to force the pace. One thing that Bivol did very well is he outworked Canelo consistently, but he boxed him well, and he boxed him with a high output as well. You've got to try and hurt him if you can. We know that's difficult. He's not been stopped before, not been dropped properly before. But he is coming towards the end of his career, and you've got to hope as well that physically he's not the same fighter. But I think that Canelo, his output has dropped, and I don't think that he forces the pace anymore. I don't think he really forces the stoppage anymore. If you look against Munguia, you look against Ryder, you look against all these fighters where he's hurt people and he's not looked to finish the job. I think sometimes physically he's okay with just coasting out a fight. So you've got to match him or outmatch him in terms of output and make sure that you're active. And you've got to win rounds and you've got to take chances. It's very dangerous and it's a very tough ask.
Eddie, Anthony Fowler.
Would it be, I don't know, with the hurt hand, do you guys want to go into the Zepeda fight? Do you have to? Or?
Have to.
Yeah, you won't do a tune-up for him to test out the
See how
hand?
you can. I mean, it's ordered. This was agreed that they had this interim fight, but Shakur's not going to want to have tune-ups and hang around. I think he's very confident about the Zepeda fight, but the key now is to get back to full health.
Eddie, Anthony Fowler said something about Daniel Dubois and Joshua sparring, and Daniel hurt him. Just what was your reaction to that?
At first the story was that he was carried out the ring. Now the story is that he got hit by a left hook, got wobbled, and they carried on the spot. I mean, when have you ever seen a fighter seriously hurt and carried on a spot? So you know the real story. But Dubois can punch. Of course, if he hits anybody clean, he's going to be dangerous. But we expect to win that fight by knockout next week.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, guys.